So over the years, Nintendo has had a lot of game systems, and we are going to rate them on a scale from 1 to 10 on our own.
From oldest to newest.
Anyways, number 1, we've got the Color TV game series. Now, I've actually never heard of this in my life. I didn't know it was a real thing until I looked at this website with all the game systems on it, so I don't have a rating for it.
Just do a rating on how you think it would work.
Well, based on it, it had unique games. Oh, crap, though. Unique games, 5 different pieces of hardware. Color TV game systems did not have interchangeable cartridges, so each console could only play a single title.
Yeah, that's gonna have to get a low rating from me.
Alright, I'll give it like a 2 out of 10. Based on
Yeah,
that
2 out of 10
description.
because the single title.
Yep. Anyways, next up, we have the NES. I've never played it before myself, but I've seen a lot of gameplay and I've seen a lot of games. So, I'll give it like 5 out of 10 because it started off some of the biggest game franchises, you know, like Mario, The Legend of Zelda, all that.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say the same things. I've heard very good about the Nintendo NES, and you know, seen a couple gameplay, but not too much. So I'll have to give it a 4.5 out of 10.
Alright. Next up, we of course have the Nintendo 64.
Epic.
So the Nintendo 64, what do you have to say about it first?
It is a classic gaming console. It started to really advance with Nintendo. Nintendo really started to, it started to give Nintendo a bigger boost. And just like Mario 64, the games on it were just classic and rememberable. So I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10.
Alright, so myself, the Nintendo 64, it was basically the first system that had really improved 3D graphics. It really revolutionized the 3D games. Without it, I think games would be much different than they are now. So the new controller introduced the modern joystick. Now, since it was the first controller with joysticks, it kind of sucked, you know. It was in a terrible shape that you couldn't really play with. But honestly, because of all the games on it, such as Mario 64, all those games, like you said, I've heard a lot about it, and it was really what kicked off Nintendo, like you also said. So I gotta give it like a 7 out of 10, just because of how much it revolutionized the gaming community and games themselves.
Exactly.
Alright, next up, we have the Nintendo GameCube.
Okay. Would you like to go first this one?
I'll let you do it.
Okay, so the Nintendo GameCube. Personally, it is a classic. My, I've heard a lot of good things about it. Personally, I played it once. It was, not gonna lie, it was kind of nice.
What game did you play on it?
I honestly can't remember. But it was pretty nice. Also got a meme from it, you know.
Yeah, like the game.
The shape is really unique, and just the console itself is unique, just the way it is. And I think, you know, that really just, I don't know. I think I'll just give it a 6 out of 10, just because.
Now, the GameCube wasn't a bad console in my opinion. It was, you know, the new console. It fixed the controllers a bit.
Of course.
But the thing is, it really did have enhanced graphics, but it didn't really do much for gaming as a whole. It didn't invent that much except for games on discs. But other than that, there's really nothing special about it. I mean, I'm sure it had some fun games, but I really haven't heard as much about it as I've heard from other consoles. So I'll give it like a 4 out of 10.
So next one.
We got the Panasonic Q. I've never heard of this.
Never heard. Sounds pretty cool though.
Alright, next up we got the Wii.
The Wii. Ooh, okay.
I'll go ahead first. So the
Yeah.
Wii, I had that growing up. I actually played a lot of Wii with like my family and stuff. And I remember playing it a long, long time ago at your house, or like at your
course.
grandma's house,
Yeah, of course.
playing Mario and stuff. And honestly,
Yeah.
it was a really good experience. I had fun games like the Wii Sports, and it was really the most interactive
Best
games
game.
at. It was really the most interactive console at the time because it had actual motion sensing. Um, yeah, it also had online, which was like a first to ever. I think it was the first console to ever have online. Don't fact check me on that. But
Just
it had
guesstimating, honestly. We don't know everything.
it had a lot of fun games on it, such as like Mario Wii, and I believe it had like some racing games, and it had a lot of different accessories that you could use. So many new controllers and stuff, and it really gave you more of a choice on what kind of controller you wanted, which was a first for the gaming community. And it also had like the Mii's, all that.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a great console, great graphics. Overall, with all the games and stuff, I'll give it a good 7, 8 out of 10.
Alright, so personally, I loved that console. I had it when I was growing up. Didn't have much games on it, but personally, it was very innovative because what they did with the controllers and how it could, motion sensor them. So, the controllers were in a unique shape. Like nowadays they have VR controllers shaped like that, but they were in a unique shape. And honestly, games were really fun. Wii Sports, if you played it long enough, you could get good. Just the way it changed everything. Almost everyone had at least played it once. And honestly, I'll give it a 8.5 out of 10.
Alright, next up, we have the Wii Family Edition, which is pretty much the Wii, so we're just going to skim over that. The Wii U. The Wii U was the portable version of a Wii. It basically had like all of the Wii games, but it didn't have the same remotes and stuff, not with the motion controls. However, it did have a bunch of good games. It had Super Mario Maker. It had like Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, which was honestly a great Smash Bros. Game. And the Smash Bros. Franchise wouldn't be the same without it. So if I were to rate it because of its portability and how it could become a portable console or on the TV, and it had separate controllers with online play and everything, I would probably give it like a good 7 out of 10. Not bad.
Okay, so for the Wii U, it was basically the older version of a Switch. Had a lot of the same controls. Connected to the TV. It was portable, kind of the same shape. A little more bulky though. And honestly, how they made it portable just changed the way Nintendo would make their future consoles, such as the 3DS. But that really, I think, gave the Switch the stage because they already knew how to make it. For the controllers, they're pretty nice, except for like the extra controllers. But the games were really fun. And just the experience that you had playing it was nice. So I think I'll have to give it a 7 out of 10 as well.
Alright, next up we got, oh my god, hold on, this is glitching out. Give me a second. Alright, so we had the NES Classic Edition. Now, a lot of people didn't know that this existed because it wasn't really announced largely. So, not many people knew it was there because of how little it was put in the spotlight, because, the Wii U at the time was really the most popular thing, and everyone was playing that. But it basically just did the NES, but with a bit of improvement. And I've seen it before. I've actually played it a little bit. Honestly, I'd give it like the same score as the NES. Just a little bit better.
I think my reviews will be the same as Colson's. Personally, never played it before, and as you said, wasn't announced as publicly, not enough spotlight. As I said, personally, never played it, so I can't really rate the games or controllers or anything. But if I were to play it, I might give it a pretty good score, maybe the same as how I rated the NES. And yeah.
Alright, next up, we of course have the 3DS. Now, the 3DS, I'm kind of biased here because the 3DS is the Nintendo console that I grew up playing. All my friends had it, I played it all the time, and it had games like Mario Kart 7, which was really a big leap in the Mario Kart franchise.
Mm-hmm.
It also gave Pokemon really the spotlight.
Yeah.
And overall, since it had its 3D graphics and the flipping, I liked the portability of it. I'll give it like a 9 out of 10, just because I'm biased towards it. Really good console.
So, for the 3DS, personally, I had the Wii for a while, and then once I got older, I got the 3DS. Not too much older, but it was like a couple years after I got the Wii. I got the 3DS, and from my experience, all the games were just amazing. It had pretty great graphics. The portability of it, it was just like it could fit in your pocket. It flipped shut. The 3DS graphics were great. Just everything about it was good. The games, it did put Pokemon more in the spotlight, as you said, and you know, it was really good. Personally, I grew up with that in the Wii, so I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9 as well.
Alright, now on to the portable systems, since we didn't really go over them.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the portable system, first off was the Game & Watch. I've never played it. I've never even seen any gameplay of it, but
The what?
it was the Game & Watch. I never played it. I never seen any gameplay of it. It was just so old, but I think it was a really important system since it really introduced portable gaming to all gaming companies, and it's really what started everything off. So since I've never played it, I've never seen any gameplay, I'll give it like a 5 out of 10.
Okay, so the concept, it does sound pretty cool. So just, yeah, I've never played it. And, you know, it was old, so never heard of it, never played it, never seen gameplay of it. So honestly, just the way it brought out portable gaming, like you said, I'm gonna have to also give it a 5 out of 10.
Alright, next up is the Game & Boy. Or, I mean, not the Game & Boy. The Game Boy. Now, this was a huge console. It was a extremely popular system for Nintendo, and it really got Nintendo to be a more popular company, and I don't think Nintendo itself would be the same without the Game Boy. And it introduced so many good franchises. It introduced Pokemon, Mario. Actually, Mario wasn't introduced on that, but yeah, it introduced Pokemon. And, you know, there are a bunch of Kirby games on it. And,
Kirby.
Kirby is a pretty huge franchise itself, so I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. The design was just really bulky, and it didn't have a lighted up screen, but that was the best for its time.
So personally, I used to go to my grandma's and she had some Game Boys, and so I have to talk pretty good about the Game Boy. I liked it a lot when I had the chances to play it. And the way it just brought, you know, Nintendo out more because it just changed it, and it's just a classic, you know, portable console, and it was kind of like bringing Nintendo into the spotlight, and portable charging, it helped a lot with that. I mean, not portable charging, you know, but I think I'm gonna have to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
Next up was the Virtual Boy. So, since this, I'm pretty sure, was the first ever virtual gaming console, and as someone who owns 2 different VR systems, I never played it. I never saw any gameplay of it, but the concept seems really cool. And of course, as always, Nintendo really brought out the first of its kind. So overall, since I never played it, I'll give it like a 4 out of 10, just because it wasn't very good.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of bad news about the, VR. It wasn't even attachable to your head. You had to stand in front of like a stick that it was attached to, and put your face in it. It was only like red and black, which I mean that was all they really had at the time. That all they could do. But I've heard bad reviews. You couldn't play. Most people couldn't play for over 10 minutes without hurting their eyes, like horribly. And they just said that there wasn't much options that they could do on it. But I mean, it is what they have for the time, and it was pretty impressive for what they did. But just how it functioned and everything, I'm just gonna have to give it a 3 out of 10.
Alright, next up is the Game Boy Light. And so it was only released in Japan, so it wasn't a very popular gaming system because it was only released in one country. Most people have probably not even heard of it, but it introduced lights to portable consoles. Introduced lights to the background, so it was pretty innovative, and it was basically just like the Game Boy, except it was, better. So since I've never played it, but I have played the Game Boy and I've seen the Game Boy, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 also.
So, the Game Boy Light, never played it. As you said, it was only made in Japan. So, basically, I've heard pretty good things about it. It was just like the Game Boy, but as you said, it was better. But, I've personally never played it, so never seen much gameplay of it. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get, just because what it did to the, gaming was, I'll have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Same as the Game Boy. Alright, next up is the Game Boy Color. So this was the second installment in the Game Boy series, really. It introduced color into portable gaming consoles. Again, it sold just as good as the Game Boy did, if not better. And it introduced color to portable games, like I already said. But honestly, a really good console. It had some games that I've actually played before. I'll have to give it another 9 out of 10 just because it's one better than the Game Boy.
Okay. So the Game Boy Color was just like the Game Boy, but it had color, obviously. Which I personally mostly played the Game Boy Color over the Game Boy. So I have pretty good reviews about it. I used to play some Mario games on there. And honestly, it functioned pretty well for its time. And it was just a great console and all. So I think I'll have to give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Alright, so skipping over the Game Boy Advance, because there's really not that much special about it. Going on to the Game Boy Advance SP. Now, this console was flip open, and I'm pretty sure it was the inspiration for the 3DS and the DS and the DSi series. It had lights in the back of the screen, and it had color. So it was basically just a Game Boy, but a lot better, and it flipped open. And I really like the flip open portable concept and how slim it is, so I'll give it a good 7 out of 10.
Okay, personally, my grandma had this one. It was a red one. It was just so small once you close it up. It was just a square that you could easily fit in your pocket and take around. It functioned really well. I have a lot of good memories from it, and as I said, it functioned really well. It most likely inspired the 3DS because the flip open, and the games on it were really fun. So I'm gonna have to give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Alright, next up is the Nintendo DS. So the Nintendo DS was a huge system in Nintendo's company. It had 2 screens, it was flip open. It had the touch screen, and it had so many good games. it introduced so many games, so many original games, and honestly, it really gave Nintendo a huge boost because of how many people bought it. And it had really good graphics compared to the Game Boy Advance SP. So I will give it a 10 out of 10.
Okay. So the Nintendo DS was a really good console. As you said, it helped Nintendo get out there more. It was more advanced than the Game Boys, and it had, like you said, 2 screens. So that really, advanced everything. And the games were so fun on it. It really just, helped out Nintendo. So I'm gonna also have to give it, I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10 as well.
Alright, next up is the Nintendo DSi. The redesign of the Nintendo DS line. It was a bit bigger. It was more slim, and it was brighter, so you could see it better. And it also featured the camera, which was really cool because you could edit pictures and stuff. And it had the music app. And then you could have this shop app on it, which was actually really cool because you could actually download games and not even have to go to a store to get actual cartridges. However, it did have backwards compatibility for Game Boy Advance games and just normal DSi games. So honestly, it was really, really good. I'll give it a good 10 out of 10 as well.
Okay, so personally, I don't think I've ever played it, but I've heard good things about it, and I don't know, I've just heard good things about it, and I've heard that it's a good console, and it runs pretty well, and the games, as you said, it's backwards compatible with the Game Boys Advanced, so I think I'm gonna have to give it an 8 out of 10 just because I've never played it before.
Alright, after the 3DS, which we already talked about, was the Nintendo 2DS. Now, the Nintendo 2DS, I never bought one because I really didn't like it. It basically took the 3DS and took, its most grossing features. It took away the 3D and it took away the flipping open. It did have a bunch of modern software, same as the 3DS did, but honestly, since it got rid of those 2 huge features of the 3DS, I only got to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, so like you said with the 2DS, it took away all the good features that the 3DS had. It was a big downgrade from what was previously made. They took away the 3D, they took away the flipping, and just all the good features from it were just gone. So I think that, I mean, it had good games and everything, and I just don't think that it was a good enough console as the 3DS. It was a bad downgrade, so I'm gonna have to say 5 out of 10.
Alright, next for the new Nintendo 2DS XL. Now, I'm actually including this one because it's a completely different console from the 2DS, because it actually had flipping open, and it had a bunch of new hardware improvements. However, it was basically just a copy of the 3DS. It really wasn't necessary. It was basically just a cheap version of the 3DS, and the 3DS itself wasn't even that expensive. So,
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to give it a 7 out of 10 because it was better than the 2DS, but it was basically just a 3DS copy because of its flip open.
So like you said, it was better than the 2DS, obviously. But personally, I've never played it, so I don't know how I could rate it, but I've seen gameplay, so I know it's better than the 2DS, and personally I don't like the 2DS too much, so, I think I'm just gonna have to give it a solid 6.5 out of 10.
Alright, next up we got the Nintendo Switch Lite. So, coming after the Nintendo Switch Lite was actually, I think it was a downgrade. See, the Nintendo Switch was a perfect console by itself. It really didn't need a remake, especially a remake that took away a lot of the defining features of the Switch. It took off the Joy-Cons that you could remove and play with, and it made it so you can't really play with anybody. You could only play by yourself. or online, and you can't play it on the TV. So, since it really downgraded the Nintendo Switch, and I really didn't think it was necessary to be created, I'll give it like a good 6 out of 10.
Okay, the Switch Lite. Personally, I have a Nintendo Switch. So, what I'm gonna have to say about the Switch Lite is it was definitely a downgrade. My friend has it. I've played it. It just wasn't too good. It just took away the Switch from Nintendo Switch. It couldn't switch controllers. It couldn't, you know, do any much things that the Nintendo Switch could do. So, but personally, the size was sleek. The colors and designs, they were sleek as well. I liked the designs on them, but if it was more like the Switch, it and didn't downgrade, then I would have liked it better, but because it downgraded and took away the removable controllers and the defining features, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 10.
Alright, so that's going to wrap it up. We've covered most of the popular systems. I skipped some of them because they weren't really any different. So I skipped like the minis mostly, Game Boy Mini and all that.
Yeah.
It really wasn't necessary, but that's pretty much it. So, why don't you tell me what you rate the systems and what your favorite system is? Which system did
Okay.
you grow up with?
I grew up with the Game Boy Advanced SP, I believe it was called, the Switch one, like the openable one.
Yeah.
So I grew up with that, the Wii, and some of my friends had the Wii U, so I kind of grew up with that, and I also got a 3DS later on. I grew up with all those, and I had a really good experience with Nintendo. Nintendo has always been and always will be a classic, just gaming consoles. It's just insane how much they impacted the gaming community and gaming consoles in general. So, I don't know. Nintendo in total gets a 10 out of 10.
I have to also say Nintendo is a great game company. It's made so many good game franchises that everyone grew up with and so many good systems. I grew up with the 3DS being my favorite console. I also played the Wii sometimes, but mostly 3DS. 3DS gang for life. Got the Nintendo Switch,
course.
and I've been getting all their systems since then. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Come next time where we rate all of the PS systems and all of the Xbox systems. That's it.
See ya.